Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily DVAR Halacha. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Friday, the 25th day of April. Here we go. Today, a couple of more laws about the specifics of listening to music during the sad days, the sad 33 days during the counting of Omer. We told you yesterday that generally speaking it's a good idea to refrain from listening to music during the sad days, and we discussed yesterday which half of the Sefira you should be observing. Now, so the question comes up that Jewish musicians are now producing a lot of music that they call a cappella. It's music that has no musical instruments behind it. It just has singing, and the singers are very talented, so it sounds like a fully orchestrated musical thing when it's really just voices. And they say, well, it's fine to listen to that during the Sefiras Haomer sad time, or during the 3 weeks before the destruction of the temple time during the summer. And they think it's okay because it's not music, it's just voices singing, and voices singing should be considered okay. I'm going to ask you to speak to your own personal rabbi on that, because there are differing opinions on that. Some say that it's okay because it's not actually music, it's just voices. It just sounds like music because the voices are really talented. And there are other rabbis who say that because it feels like music, therefore you should not listen to it during this sad time. I would recommend that you try not to listen to it because why not? Show that you want to commemorate the sadness of 24,000 students disappearing during this time, and to say, well, I have a loophole to get around it is, not in a good spirit. But speak to your personal rabbi for guidance on that matter. Now, you know that because we explained to you yesterday that some people observe the sad 33 days at the beginning of the Omer and some at the end, there's some overlapping time and there's some not overlapping time. Like right now, the people keeping the first half, as we call it, are not listening to music, and the people keeping the second half are still listening to music. So what do you do if someone comes into somebody else's room in a dormitory or anything like that? Generally, the rule is that we go kind of by where you are. If you're in the room with a person who is not observing the sadness yet, and he is listening to music in his room, it's not really appropriate to ask him to shut off the music. He's in his room and he's not keeping that sad period of time yet, so he should be allowed to play his music in his room. Similarly, if you get into somebody else's carpool and they're playing music because they are keeping the second half of Sefira, it's not really appropriate to say, please turn your music off because I've stepped into your car. That's kind of rude. Generally, the tone should be set by the person who's in charge of the room or the car. If it's their car and they are not keeping that half of Sefira, they are free to do, of course, whatever they want in their car. If your friend is having a wedding during a half of Sefira, like let's say this Sunday, your friend is getting married and you, for whatever reason, are keeping the first half of Sefira, can you go to that wedding? Generally speaking, there's a lot of leniency on something like that, because if you're going to add to the simcha of your friend by being there, then it would help your friend a lot if you went to that wedding. You may want to talk to your rabbi about how's the best way to handle that. Should you go to the entire wedding? But generally speaking, if you're going to add to the simcha of the chassan and or the kala by being there, then the fact that you're keeping that half of Sefira shouldn't rob you of the mitzvah, and them of the mitzvah, of having all that simcha. But do speak to your rabbi for close counseling on what's the best way to deal with that. And I guess it's a little late to hear this piece of the announcement, but you could even try to arrange which 33 days you're keeping based on, well, I'm going to my friend's wedding in the first half of Sefira, so I'm going to observe the sad 33 days in the second half of Sefira when I'm going to no weddings. You are allowed to arrange it that way, and it would be appropriate if you wanted to do that. Speak to your rabbi if you need more specific guidance on those kinds of details. Thanks for logging on, and log on again after Shabbos for more. Bye-bye.